Hi, it's Tony with Actively Golden, and thanks for joining me. Wanted to ask you a question. Have you ever found yourself in a challenging situation, an unexpected challenging situation that seemed to come up out of nowhere, something that you weren't anticipating, you weren't expecting, anything like that? Well, I find myself in a situation like that right now, and it came out of nowhere. It's not something I was anticipating or expecting. And so I want to talk about how I'm handling it, and maybe this will be helpful to you. And of course, I would love your comments as well down in the comment section about how you handle unexpected and challenging situations. But I'm not going to get into the specifics, at least in this video, of what is happening. I may share more detail about that in videos to come. But for right now, I just want to share with you what I'm doing to handle this unexpected situation. We all have them. We all have things that happen in our lives that seem to come out of nowhere. And the three main areas of life that the most troubling uh, situations come from, the three main areas are in our finances, or in our relationships, or in our health. And you may be facing an unexpected situation right now, a challenge, the way I am. And mine has to do with relationships. I will tell you that much right now. And it's something that kind of, when it first hit me, kind of spun me around. But I went back and I just looked over my life and the things that I've learned about challenging situations. And let me just share a few thoughts with you about how to handle unexpected challenges in your life. And the first is to simply stay calm. It's never a good idea to panic when things come out of left field. When you panic, you get disoriented, you make bad decisions, you make rush decisions. You've really got to calm down and sit back. I mean, one of the most valuable lessons that I learned from my mother was never panic, never worry. Don't worry until it's actually time to worry, because worrying and panicking just make everything worse. So you've got to stay calm. You've got to just say, okay, I'm not going to let this get me too upset. I'm going to focus on it. I'm going to understand what it is, but I'm not going to panic. I'm going to stay calm. And the second thing that I do, and that you should do, is that you should just accept it. It's happened. It is what it is. Instead of saying, why did this happen, or how could this have happened? Instead of doing all that, those are questions that can be answered later. But right now, when you're in the midst of it, it doesn't do any good to ask those questions. You just accept the fact that you are in that situation, that unexpected challenge. You just say, well, it's here. I have to deal with it, so I'm going to. And then the third thing that I would encourage you to do is think about and focus on only that which you can control. You see, when it comes to relationships, there's only so much you can do when it comes to other people. I mean, you can tell them your thoughts about something they're doing or their actions, but at the end of the day, you can't control people. You can only control yourself. And when you find yourself in an unexpected situation, you really should just focus on what you can control. What can you do with your own emotions, with the reality of the situation? What are some steps that you can take? Because again, you can't look at other people and say, okay, here's XYZ things that you need to do. Most of the time, they're going to tell you to go fly a kite or approach it, totally from a different perspective than you want them to. So you've got to stay calm. You've got to accept the situation. You've got to focus on that which you can control. And the most important thing that you can control is yourself. Trying to control others is almost, as they say, a fool's errand. Then what you want to do after that is you want to really sit back and take a look at it and analyze it, the situation, the challenge. You want to break it down into its components, if it can be broken down, and just start looking at it from that perspective. What is, in other words, for example, what does this mean? What impact is this going to have on my life or other people's lives? What possible ramifications can come from me going through this. So you really kind of want to break it down and say what impacts it can have, what ramifications can it have, what burdens will it put on you or someone else. I mean, you want to be cognizant and aware of those things. You don't want to just kind of just go running through it. You want to look at these ramifications, these impacts, because you want to make sure that you minimize those, especially if they're negative ramifications, negative impacts. You want to make sure that you don't make rash decisions and do silly things that make it worse. You want to try to minimize the damage that could come from it from your perspective or your involvement in it. And then the fifth thing you want to do is you want to really think through your options. Okay, now that I'm here, what options do I have? I mean, is one option going to the people involved and just trying to get it back the way it was and to fix it? You know, maybe there could be, you could go meet with the people involved, if it's a relationship one, and try to come to terms together. Maybe have a meeting of the mind on some things, and make some concessions and try to work through it. But in my case, that's not going to be an option. I'm not going to be able to go and meet with the people involved and say, okay, if I do this, will you do that? And if you do this, I'll do that. No, none of that is going to happen because this has been something that's been long time coming. It's been building up over the years. And unfortunately, we've talked about a lot of these things over the years. And some of the things I would like to see happen are simply not going to happen. So what I have to do now is I have to sit back, and now that it's here, that it's come to fruition, it's unexpected, it came out of left field, but it's here now. Now what I've got to do is I've got to look at every option that I have. What choices can I make right now? What decisions? What steps can I take? And then I have to think through both the pros and cons of those decisions. So and all of this is a result of just staying calm, not panicking. When you're panicking, when you're worried, when you're stressed out, you're setting yourself up to make bad decisions. Now you want to think through. You want to calm down. You want to assess the situation, break it down, and you want to think through your options. And then once you do that, the next thing that you can do is you can come up with a plan. What am I going to actually do? What steps am I actually going to take? Not what I hope to do, but what I'm going to do. It's time to make a decision. It's time to act upon the decision instead of being in the wilderness of your mind, not knowing what to do. You can't do that. You've got to stick to your guns, so to speak. You've got to assess this situation, stay calm, and you've got to make a plan, and you've got to stick to that plan. And that's what I've done. I've saw this coming. It's come out of left field. It's unexpected, but over the last couple of weeks, I've been looking at my options. One of the best things for me, and if you are a believer the way I am, a Christian believer the way I am, one of the best things I've done is take the words of the Lord Jesus to heart. He said, take no thought for tomorrow. In other words, don't think about tomorrow, because each day has enough concerns of its own. And when you're in an unexpected situation, when you're in a real challenge, that's really good advice, whether you're a believer or not. Just think about today. What am I going to do today? What decisions can I make today? Let tomorrow take care of itself. That's extremely important. So come up with a plan and stick to it and act on it. Now, let me just touch on very quickly the emotional side of all of this. Because sometimes, I'm a very strong person. So when things hit me out of left field, I very rarely panic. I don't go and take antidepressant medications. I don't do any of that. Now, if you're taking that kind of stuff and you need that and a doctor has prescribed it, don't hear me say don't do that. I don't do it because I've just have always tended to be pretty stable in my emotions. Because of the way that I was raised, just the things I remember my mother instilling in me. So So that idea or that aspect of panicking or overly worrying, that's something my mother took out of me years ago. And I found that she was right. Just being overly emotional doesn't help. But everyone doesn't have the training or the background that I have. So handle it in whatever way fits you and works for you. But when your emotions are involved, if it's tough, if it's hard, then you've got to get some support from family and friends. You've got to find some folks that you can meet with, that you can talk to, that can give you some insight, some encouragement, some advice, or whatever. Just a nice little support group of some kind. It's just good to talk it out with other people and let them give you some insights. A lot of times people have been through very similar situations, and they can give not only good advice, but practical advice because they've been there. So if your emotions are just getting the better of you, call some friends, have a meeting with some important people in your life. The second thing you want to do, if your emotions are getting the better of you, and that is do everything you can to stay positive. Instead of focusing on the negative, oh my God, what's gonna happen? What's happening next? Oh my goodness. Instead of doing that, just say, well, let's look at the positive things that can come from this. Because out of every negative, from every storm comes the sunshine. After a tremendous sun, there's always tremendous sunshine. And there's always a silver lining. Just because something is bad today doesn't mean it's going to be bad for the rest of your life. You've got to focus on the positive and say, well, I might not want to be in this situation right now, and I might not want to be in this challenge right now, but I'm going to look for the good and the wholesome, because something good is going to come from it. Again, as a believer, I hold on to certain Bible verses where we were told at one point, God causes all things to work together for good for those that love Him and are called according to His purposes. So I know that even when I'm going through tough times, something good can come from it. So, so get some support from some friends. Be positive as much as you can. Focus on the silver lining, the sunshine that's coming. And then lastly, I'm going to close with this. Reach out to some significant people that you really trust. Now, I'm not talking about just about friends. It can be friends and family members. But the first thing that I did when this situation happened to me and came up and exploded into my life, I started reaching out to three very prominent people who have been a part of my life at different times of my life. Some I've known for 30 years and haven't spoken to in 15 or 20 years. And I called each one of them, and after some small talk of catching up, they were so glad to hear from me. They were ready and encouraged me to share what was going on, and I shared with them the details of the situation, and I I was so amazed at what they poured back into me. They gave practical advice, but more than practical advice, it was just support. It was, Tony, you're going through a tough situation right now where you don't feel there's a lot of love in your life, but man, we love you. I love you. I've missed talking to you. We walked down memory lane together. They talked about some things that we had done together that just encouraged my mind to flash back some memories to some really good days in my life, just to remind me that we can go through challenging times, but good days are going to come. So again, get some support from family and friends, and even professional help if you need it. Try to stay positive and reach out to certain people that might be the right person to reach out to at this time. So again, stay calm, accept the situation, focus on only on what you can control, break it down as to the pros and cons of it. Think through your options, really think through them, come up with a plan and act on it, and control of those emotions. Hopefully, this will be very encouraging and helpful to you. I'm Tony with Actively Golden. I'd love to see your comments below, and by all means, like and subscribe if you want to. Again, thanks for stopping by, and have a blessed and awesome day.